Our movie starts with a girl sitting in class named Mara. Mara was really bored, and accidentally drops her pen on the floor. She bends down to pick it up, and suddenly, the girl sitting in front of her explodes. Everyone is terrified by the scene, but Mara isn't scared like the rest of her classmates. She tells us that the girl who exploded was actually very kind. In the end, Mara runs out with the rest of the class. Mara goes outside the school with her friends, and suddenly her friend Tess stops her and asks what happened. Mara tells her about their friend who exploded. Tess looks at Mara's shoes and sees them covered in blood, realizing Mara was telling the truth. Shortly after, the police, forensic team, and investigators arrive, collecting everything related to the girl who exploded. The police then take all the students to the station for questioning. We see that all the students are taking it very seriously, except Mara, who jokes and laughs with the officer. Afterwards, their clothes are taken, they have to shower at the station, and they're given new clothes. The police tell them they'll stay there until the investigation is finished. We see them detained, everyone frustrated that their day is being wasted. One girl asks, "When will they let us out of here?" Mara replies that they'll leave once the police are sure no one will get hurt. The students all look tense and scared, each afraid they might be next to explode like the girl. When the students are finally allowed to leave, Mara sees her parents waiting for her. They take her home immediately. Mara goes to her room and smokes. She gets a message on her phone from an unknown sender saying they like her and want to meet her. Mara smiles and feels happy, even though she doesn't know who it is. She keeps talking to the unknown person until they both fall asleep. The next morning, Mara and Tess go to the funeral of their friend who exploded. Mara sees the girl's father very sad. He goes to his car, removes a sticker shaped like a girl, showing us that he had put these stickers for all his daughters. Later, Mara and Tess buy drugs from two brothers. Tess advises Mara not to buy them and to quit, but Mara buys them anyway. They sit in a cafe, and Mara secretly puts all the drugs into her drink. She reminds her friend of their childhood dreams, like building a house by the sea and living there together when they grow old. After a while, they talk about their friend who exploded. A young man named Dylan interrupts them and asks to join, saying he wants to talk about the situation. Dylan sits with them and starts flirting with Mara using the same style of messages she received. Mara realizes Dylan is the person who was secretly admiring her. She's thrilled, and they start talking. Suddenly, Mara feels very sick and runs to the bathroom, vomiting from the drugs. Dylan helps her, and Mara starts hallucinating. She tells him she loves him deeply and that he will be her last love. Dylan walks her to her house, and before leaving, asks her out on a date. When Mara enters her house, she finds Tess there. Mara rests her head on Tess's lap, and Tess asks her to stop using drugs. Mara says she'll try. Days pass, and Mara and Dylan's relationship grows stronger and more loving. One day, there's an American football game at the school that evening. During the day, Dylan sees Mara, and all the students are dressed in different outfits for the match, including Dylan. He really likes Mara's outfit, and they sit together, talking. Mara asks Dylan why he liked her. He says that on his first day at school, he saw her and spoke to her, and he liked her from the very first moment. He adds that when they were detained at the police station, he heard her say anyone could explode like the girl, and he decided to talk to her because anyone could die at any time. Mara smiles, and then they head to the match. At the game, Mara and Dylan are laughing and enjoying themselves. Suddenly, the crowd screams, and one of the players explodes. Dylan grabs Mara's hand and quickly escapes the stadium with her. After the incident, the city and media start reporting on what happened, calling it the Coington curse, named after the city where the students live. Mara, Tess, and the rest of their friends attend a ceremony honoring the player who exploded. His teammates go on stage, sharing everything he did. When Mara returns home, she sits with her parents, who tell her they are trying to help her apply to colleges, though the applications are currently paused, and they're working on a solution. That night, Dylan comes with an ice cream truck to take Mara to the ceremony for the player who exploded. Mara asks why he brought the truck, and Dylan tells her it's because he knows she loves ice cream. They went to the party and stayed inside the house for a while, but they got bored and went out to walk in the garden. Dylan and Mara threw away the alcohol they had and said maybe the alcohol is what makes people explode. Suddenly, they heard screams coming from the party, so they ran inside and found that one of their friends had exploded. A few days later, Mara sat and listened to a scientist trying to figure out what was happening to the students. The scientist, Rossetti, asked Mara to bring her something specific, which we'll learn about later. Mara went to the siblings who sold drugs and asked for some, confessing that the scientist had requested it because the government suspected that what was happening to the students was caused by the drugs they were taking. To convince the siblings, Mara told them she would take the entire supply. They agreed and took her in the car on the way to where the drugs were stored. During the drive, they talked with Mara to get to know her better and told her that after finishing with the supply, they planned to leave the city. Mara also told them about Dylan. Suddenly, the brother driving the car exploded, shocking his sister and Mara. The sister tried to drive the car instead, but she also exploded, and the car flipped. Hours later, Dylan arrived at the car because he knew where Mara was. He searched the car, afraid that she might have exploded too, and found blood on a rock. He realized Mara was in the forest, and went in to find her. Dylan finally found Mara cleaning herself from the blood by a lake. He ran to her and tried to calm her, but suddenly, a person in a protective suit appeared. Both of them were scared, and then more people in the same suits appeared, captured Dylan and Mara, and both fainted. When Mara woke up, she found herself in a bed connected to medical equipment. A doctor was in front of her, and she was terrified. She looked to the side and saw Dylan asleep in another bed. That night, their beds were placed closer together, and Dylan told her that the government had quarantined their entire class, believing the students could spread a deadly virus that might wipe out humanity. The next day, the doctor met with the students and asked them about their feelings and what they wanted from life. Mara said she just wanted to stay alive. That night, Mara sat with her friend Tess, who told her she was very worried because she didn't want the same thing to happen to Mara as happened to their other friends. Tess said if Mara died, it would destroy her, and Mara promised they would stay together. The next day, all the students were in a recreation room set up by the government to prevent boredom and possible escape attempts. Each student was occupied with something different. Mara told them they needed to escape, but nobody paid attention. An official from the quarantine came in and turned on a screen, saying it would show them what was happening to them inside the facility. The students ignored it and laughed, clapping and shouting that they wanted out. Suddenly, one of the clapping students exploded. Later that night, another student exploded while sleeping. Scientists examined the students and tried multiple treatments. One scientist went to the parents of the student who died and explained what happened. They were heartbroken over losing their child so young. The students tried to adapt to the new life, but day by day, more students died. Eventually, the scientists developed a blue pill that was effective for the students. During testing, none of the students were harmed, and they were finally allowed to leave quarantine safely, reunited with their waiting families. It turned out that day was Mara's birthday. Her parents picked her up, but she was upset because they hadn't brought candy or presents. They explained they had been too busy and worried about her safety. When they returned home, Mara was happy to find a gift tree waiting. She sat beside it, and her parents told her they knew about her drug use. The whole family smoked and drank together, talking about how she had grown up and that she was now responsible for her own choices. Before sleeping, Mara took one of the blue pills and found Dylan in her room. They slept side by side. When they woke up, they asked Mara about the risk of explosions, and Dylan told her anything could happen. He said they needed to get ready to go to school. When Mara went to school, she didn't want to enter the classroom. She found that only their class had shown up. However, she was forced to enter. The teacher told them a story from his time in the army, explaining how he once saw a friend explode in front of him and couldn't help him. He shared this story to ease the students' grief over losing their friends and told them he would continue supporting them until they graduated from high school. After that, we see Mara with Dr. Rossetti. She checks Mara's blood pressure, and Mara asks if she's safe as long as she takes the blue pill. Rossetti tells her that anything could happen, and death could come at any moment. Later, Mara goes to Dylan in his farmyard. They set up lights and some decorations and keep dancing. Dylan asks if they could spend the summer together, as long as either of them dies. Mara agrees and is happy to be with him. It's clear she has grown very attached to Dylan. At another time, Mara and Tess are sitting at a restaurant, ordering food. The waitress is visibly scared of them and hesitates to come close, afraid she might explode like the students, since the news about the exploding students has spread throughout the city. Tess gets frustrated and leaves. The next day at school, a teacher explains the components of the blue pill and asks for a volunteer to receive some instructions. As soon as the student follows the teacher's directions, he suddenly explodes. Another student follows, then another, and panic spreads. Students try to run, but it's useless. Explosions continue one after another. During the chaos, Mara is holding Dylan's hand, but she loses him, and a friend grabs her to help. Suddenly, that friend explodes right in front of her. Mara sees the exit door and runs for it. Outside, she finds Dylan, but another person explodes right in front of her. Shocked, she doesn't know what to do except return home. On the way home, she meets Rossetti, who sees Mara covered in blood and quickly takes her to the hospital. After a while, Mara's mother helps her clean up. That night, her parents don't let her sleep alone because of her emotional state, so she sleeps with them. After these events, Mara falls into deep depression and isolates herself from the world. On Dylan's funeral day, she stays home and watches videos of herself with Dylan. One day, Mara finally leaves her room and finds her father sitting there. She makes him a drink, naming it after all her friends who died, and drinks it herself. Her father tells her she needs to move past the dark phase she's in. Mara tries to appear fine, laughing and joking. At night, she leaves the house and spends the whole day on the streets. During the day, she sees Tess trying to wake her from her drunken state, but Tess gets annoyed and boards the school bus. Later, Mara goes to a convenience store and steals bottles of alcohol. The staff doesn't stop her, fearing her parents. When she leaves the store, Rossetti is waiting. She tries to throw a bottle at Mara, but accidentally hits the back window of Rossetti's car, breaking it. When Mara returns home, her parents scold her and try to help, but she refuses, insisting she doesn't want anyone to help her, and goes to her room. After she falls asleep, she opens her laptop and visits a site her friends made for the students who died. She reads an article saying what's happening is a curse, and it weighs on her mind. The next day, Mara visits her classroom at night and also checks the spot where Dylan died, feeling deeply sad as she remembers what happened to him. On graduation day, Mara sits alone outside the school, remembering Dylan and their promises. Suddenly, Tess comes and tells her she'll leave the city to attend a big college elsewhere after the graduation party. Mara bids her farewell and enters the party drunk. She pours alcohol into a big dish and drinks quietly, ignoring the teachers. Later, she goes on stage to give a speech and receive her diploma. She apologizes to everyone for the curse and expresses regret, then takes her diploma and steps down. Suddenly, a girl repeats what Mara said, mocking her, and leaves the school. Mara then goes to Dylan's grave and lies on it, promising she will always love him and never forget him. Dylan's mother appears and asks Mara to sleep beside her. They lie there together and talk. She tells Mara that Dylan loved her very much and had told her about the first day they went out together. Mara hugs Dylan's mother, and they both cry over Dylan. When Mara returns home, her parents are waiting. They tell her she must overcome everything that happened. She hugs them and goes to her room, deciding to forget the past and start her life anew. Months later, the explosions that had been happening to students stop. Mara enrolls in college and rides in Dylan's ice cream truck, saying goodbye to her parents. On the way, she reflects on everything that happened and realizes that people must live their lives the way they want and forget what burdens them. She imagines herself married with children, seeing herself as a great mother who overcame every difficulty. She also pictures the house she dreamed of with her friend Tess, spending her life with close friends. And here we reach the end. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.